Welcome back everyone, I'm K Plays Games, this is EVE Online, and today we are carrying on with our series on ship fitting. In the previous episode we went through the entire fitting panel itself and I explained what everything on this was and how it all worked. And today it's time to actually make a ship fitting. But before we can start, we need to ask ourselves quite a few questions. The first and most important question is, what activity are we doing? Because unless you know what kind of situation the ship is going to find itself in and what is going to be expected of it, you won't even know which ship to use or what to fit to it at all. For our example today, we're going to be building a fit for a level 2 security agent mission. I was going to do a video about level 1 missions, but to be honest, they're so easy and pathetic that even a badly fitted frigate or destroyer shouldn't have too much trouble completing them. Level 2 security missions is where people first run into the difficulty curve in EVE Online. Some level 2 missions are about as difficult as a level 1, and other level 2 missions are so difficult that they really should be bumped up to level 3. So level 2 really does have a huge variety in terms of difficulty, and this is where you need to get good at fitting ships. The next question we need to ask is, are we doing this activity solo or as part of a fleet? In a fleet, you'll probably have ships that will support the other ships, such as logistics ships for repairing friendly ships, or command bursting ships that boost everyone, or support ships that provide other remote assistance such as tracking computers and sensor boosters, which means that every other ship in the fleet can just dedicate itself to being purely firepower and let everyone else worry about keeping them alive. When you're solo, you need your ship to be able to do everything on its own, so we'll be doing a solo fit today. Now we have to ask ourselves, what do we know about level 2 security missions? Well, the first thing you need to realise is that some of the missions will have acceleration gates, and those gates will usually not allow certain classes of ship through them, which means usually battle cruisers and battleships are too large to get through these gates. So we're going to narrow our search of candidate ships down to cruisers, destroyers and frigates, and it'll all be Tech 1 stuff. Now we need to consider which NPC enemies we're going to find inside these missions. This will mostly be frigates and destroyers with a few cruisers scattered around the place, and we might even bump into the occasional single battle cruiser or even a battleship. So we need a fit that can kill lots of small targets quite quickly, but also deal enough raw damage to kill those larger targets. So this is pushing us more towards destroyer and cruiser rather than frigates. The faction of the enemy NPCs is also something you need to consider. Missions can and will pit you against a wide variety of NPCs, each of them dealing and being weak to different types of damage. But where you are running your missions matters. The faction of NPC that naturally spawns in asteroid belts in your current region will appear most often in the missions offered to you. So in Galenti space, this means you'll probably get more missions featuring the Serpentis faction. In Minmatar space you'll get lots of missions fighting Angel Cartel. Caldari will be against Garistas pirates, and Amar will either be Blood Raiders or Sancha's Nation. We can then select and fit a ship that's really good at dealing the exact damage type which those most common NPCs are weakest to, but as I said, you will be asked to fight a wide selection of enemies. Rogue drones and mercenaries will show up all the time, and they have radically different damage profiles. So get used to being adaptive and changing at least your tank, if not your damage types, if indeed your ship can change its damage types. Damage types can be a problem for certain ships. Laser turrets, for example, are locked into dealing only EM and thermal damage, so they'll take quite a bit longer to kill Angel Cartel, who are quite resistant to those damage types. Likewise, hybrid turrets are locked to kinetic and thermal and may take slightly longer to kill Rogue drones and Blood Raiders, and Sancha, who are all weak to EM. Missiles, drones and projectile weapons can select any damage type they want, and all races do have access to ships who can use at least one of these different weapon systems. Even if the raw damage output of these ships may not be as good as the other dedicated combat ships, at least you're firing the perfect damage type all the time. You'll have to decide if dealing a slightly lower amount of the correct damage type is better or worse than simply pushing out more of a wrong damage type. Trial and error will tell you that. What else do we know about level 2 missions? Some of them have multiple rooms linked by acceleration gates, so perhaps we could do with some kind of propulsion module for flying to those gates a bit faster. Propulsion modules are always good anyway, both to help lower incoming fire and to help get into range with your own firepower, so they're always a good idea. And the last thing we need to ask is, how long does the capacitor need to last? Level 2 missions are not going to take all that long to complete. Even the hardest ones won't take longer than about 15 to 20 minutes, so that's kind of the ballpark figure we're going to be aiming for with the capacitor. Okay, that's the questions about the situation. Now we have to ask ourselves about our skills. Specifically, which faction ships do we have the highest skill level in? Usually this is an easy answer because as a new player you'll probably only have one faction skills, but as you progress through the game you'll cross-train into different factions, especially if you want to fly the shiny and expensive pirate faction ships which require 2 different races' skills. As we know, the ship traits generally give bonuses per level of ship skills, so take this into account when selecting your ship. And the final question is, which weapon system do we have highest skill in? Similar to the ship's question, as a rookie you'll probably only have your racial weapon system. But if, for example, you've been training drones alongside turrets, then check which one you have more skills in and then cross-check that with the traits of the ships available to you, and you'll land on something you'll be really good at using. Now we can open up the ship tree and have a look at ships. You find this here in the Neocom under Ship and Ship Tree. Now, as we can see from all these gold things, I do have Mastery level 5 in basically every ship in the game apart from the capital ships, because I have been playing for 14 years, so this makes selecting ships pretty difficult. Right? Because we could bump into battle cruisers and battleships and some level 2 missions are pretty hard, I think we're going to limit ourselves to choosing a Tech 1 cruiser, so that again narrows down our search for which ship we're going to use. They're the largest class of ship that can fit through all the gates. They can take and dish out a decent amount of damage, and they can apply that damage to small targets pretty well. They're fairly fast and they have enough fitting slots to give us lots of options, so that's what we're going to do. So I think how to choose, I'll assign a number to each of the 4 main races. I think we'll do it in alphabetical order, so Omar will be 1. Caldari will be 2, Galinti will be 3, and Minmatar will be 4. And then what we'll do is we'll make use of an internet random number generator. So minimum 1, maximum 4, generate 3. Okay, so based on our numerical alphabet system, looks like we're picking a Galinti ship. Okay, so we're going Galinti, so we'll select Galinti, we'll zoom in on the Tech 1 cruisers right here, and we'll have a look at their traits. We'll open the info page on the Vexor. The Vexor traits are 5% bonus to medium hybrid turret damage and 10% bonus to drone hit points, damage and mining yield per level, which is great. The Thorax does 5% bonus to medium hybrid turret damage and 7.5% bonus to medium hybrid turret tracking speed, so this is pretty accurate. The Celestis is really an E-War support ship, which does remote sensor dampening, usually for PvP. It does work in PvE, but not all that well. It can use guns and missiles, but it's only got 3 high power slots and no bonuses for drones, so it's not that good in combat. Certainly not as good as a Vexor or a Thorax, so we can discount the Celestis. And likewise, we can also discount the Executor, because this is a dedicated repairing platform for repairing fleet members. We see all the traits are for remote armor repairer and logistics repairing drones. It can fit guns, but only 3 of them, so it's unbonused and not really a combat ship. So we're left to choose between the Thorax and the Vexor. Let's have a look at the fitting to have a look at the slot layouts. Vexor has 4 high power slots and 4 turret slots. Thorax has 5 high power slots and 5 turret slots. They do both have traits to turret damage, which is pretty good, but the Thorax has trait to tracking speed as well, which is great. They both have 4 medium power slots, they both have 5 low power slots, they both have 3 rig slots. CPU, Thorax has slightly more, well 10% more, 330 versus 300, and the Thorax has a ton more power grid. This is because the Vexor is a drone boat and drones do not take any CPU or power grid to be fitted, you just put them in the drone bay. Talking of drone bays, let's have a look at these on the attributes tabs. Vexor drone capacity 125 cubic meters, so we can carry a whole load of drones. And the drone bandwidth is 75, which means it can use 5 small drones, which is 25 in total, or 5 medium drones, which is 50 in total, or 3 heavy drones, which is 75. And the Thorax has a decent drone capacity as well, 50 cubic meters and 50 megabit, which means it can use up to 5 medium drones as well. But again, these will be unbonused, whereas the Vexor's ones will be bonused. But then that's balanced out by the Thorax getting slightly better bonuses to turrets and being able to fit 1 extra turret. They're pretty evenly matched. It essentially comes down to your playstyle. Thorax for guns, Vexor for drones. So this time I think we'll toss a coin. We'll call Vexor heads and Thorax tails. Right, let me find a coin. And it was heads, so Vexor. Okay, Vexor is the chosen ship, so we'll click up here and we'll click simulate ship. Okay, let's keep in mind and on the screen what we know about level 2 missions. So I think the first thing we should do on this ship, because propulsion modules are always a good idea, let's put an afterburner on it. I don't think we need to go crazy and put a micro warp drive on it. I'm not sure we need to move that fast in missions. Now I am going to try and keep this fit rookie friendly. The problem we have in the fitting screen is that it shows you your exact skills and implants are all taken into account. There is no way of making a customized skill set on this. There really should be, but there isn't. So I'm going to have to restrain myself from fitting all Tech 2 stuff and maxing out the power grid and CPU. I'll keep it relatively easy for newer players to fit. So we'll go with a 10 meganewton enduring afterburner because it uses less capacitor. Capacitor is still stable because it's the only thing we've got. And as there's more low slots than mid slots, I think we'll make this an armor tank. So we'll do an armor repairer so we can fix ourselves. Medium because it's a cruiser. Again, we'll use an enduring armor repairer so it uses less capacitor. That goes in a low slot. As for tank, we have a choice. We can use a reactive armor hardener, which starts off with 15 points of resistance in all 4 damage types, but these 60 points in total will move around to adapt to whatever you're being shot with. So if, for example, we're only being shot with EM, it will take points out of all the other 3 and add them here, and this will end up as 60% to EM. So we can do that, and something like an energized multispectrum membrane, which again will give us like 13.5% to all armor resistances. Or rather than that, because this is like the lazy way of doing it, or we can go to armor hardeners, and assuming we're going to be using this Galenti ship in Galenti space, we'll usually be fighting Serpentis, which are kinetic and thermal damage. So we can put an enduring kinetic armor hardener and an enduring thermal armor hardener. As we see, our kinetic and thermal are both up at 63. So this is 42, this is 42. And you have to balance that because the reactive, this will move to 30 and 30, which isn't quite as big as 42. This has gone green because it's taken my skills into account, which are huge. So we'll get 30 and 30 from the reactive, and then another 16.9, but this is stacking penalised because they're affecting the same thing. So we'll have to multiply these by 87%. So these will only be adding 14.7, add that to 30. So these will be giving 44, but this is with really high skills. And they can't be overheated, whereas the other ones can. So if we were to put these back on and then overheat them, in an emergency we can go up to 50%. So it's a choice for you. I think I'll be lazy and I'll go down the Multispectrum route just because I can. So what will we do with the last 2 slots? Well, because this is a drone ship, I think we'll put a drone upgrade on. Specifically the compact drone damage amplifier. Now the DPS is 0 because we haven't actually chosen any drones yet, so that's what we'll do now. We'll come down to drones. Combat drones, medium scout drones. Now Tech 1 drones are pretty crap. Tech 2 are good, but take quite a lot of training. Faction 1s are really good. They have slightly less damage than Tech 2, but they're faster, they have better tracking, and they need much less skills. But the downside is that they're incredibly expensive. As we see when we mouse over, this says 2.26 million each, and the Tech 2 are only 825,000. But faction drones are never bad, so we'll just select 5 medium hammerheads here. I've done hammerheads. Something else you need to consider again is the enemy we're going to be fighting, and it'll usually be Serpentis. And if you watch the Mythbusters episode I did quite a while ago, you'll know that Serpentis are weakest to kinetic damage. So why am I putting thermal drones on? Well, they still do a decent amount of damage to them, and they'll also be good against rogue drones. But if you want to, you can put Calderi Navy mediums, put some kinetic Vespas in here as well. So we'll do that, and then we'll get some light scout drones as well. You can't always rely on just having medium drones to do all your damage because of the way the enemy AI works. Frigates will shoot up your medium drones. So it's sometimes better to have small drones like Hornets. Put the small drones out first, kill all the enemy frigates, and then put out the bigger drones for killing the cruisers. Okay, that only took 75 of our 125, so we've got room for another 50, which could just be more of these, just so you're carrying spears in case you get them killed. Try not to get your expensive faction drones killed because they are quite expensive. So we'll just do this. 9 of these, 8 of these, easy peasy, and we'll make sure that the medium ones are selected so we get the highest damage output. So the DPS is 271, and it's all drones because we haven't fitted any turrets yet. The capacitor is only at 2 minute 51, which is not great, but we're going to fix that right now with a capacitor battery. And because this is a cruiser, we can quite easily cram on a large compact. So we'll do that. Boom! Cap stable. Lovely. There's no real need to be cap stable on this kind of ship. Okay, let's see what kind of turrets we can fit. As we know, this ship has traits to medium hybrid turret damage, so hybrid turrets are the ones we want. Blasters are super short range, but when doing missions I like to be at longer ranges, simply because I don't want to waste most of my time flying from target to target. Especially level 2 missions, you're going to be dealing so much damage, you're going to be killing frigates pretty much instantly. So I don't want to have to fly for ages to get close to something, only to instantly kill it and then have to fly to the next group. I'd rather just use longer range railguns and drones and hit things from range. So I can just move from gate to gate and kill everything on the way, and by the time I arrive at the next gate, everything's dead. Lots and lots of options here. Your basic options are between 150mm, 200 and 250. Let's go for 200s because they're like the happy medium ground, and we've run out of power grid already. That's quite bad. So what we can do, we can take off the large cap battery and we can experiment with putting a medium cap battery on. Yeah, that's pretty good. We've still got 2 medium power slots, so what we'll also do, we'll put a cap recharger, a compact one. 9 minutes 36, it's probably alright for the capacitor. It's stable with the afterburner off, so if you really need to fire everything all the time, just turn the afterburner off and that lets the tank and guns last forever. That's probably good enough. Speaking of the guns, we'll load them up with some ammo. Antimatter is the high damage ammo. Fall off range 26 kilometers, that's fairly decent. Yeah, that's pretty good. I think we'll stick with that. Now we've still got quite a lot of CPU to play with, and we have a medium power slot to play with. So again, we'll look at drone upgrades, because this is a drone ship after all. What we're looking for here, where is it? The drone navigation computer 1. This adds thrust to your drones. Here we are. It adds our maximum velocity bonus 25%. So there's 25% faster flying from target to target. So that's always a good thing to do. Okay, 3 empty rig slots. What can we do with these? Well, lots and lots of things, to be honest. Many options. Drone rigs. If you have lower skills, you may need a drone control range augmenter, because we target out to 65. I have maximum skills, so my drones go 60 kilometers already, so I probably won't bother fitting a control range augmenter. Each one of these adds 15 kilometers onto your drone control range. But you don't really need to be launching drones at 60 kilometers in a level 2 mission. Nothing's really that far away. Durability enhancer. As we say, it adds lots more hit points to your drones. Adds 20% hit points, but the drones are getting 10% extra hit points per level of Galenti Cruiser anyway. And they're faction drones, which are pretty tough anyway, so we might not need that. This is for mining drones. This one's for logistics repair drones. This one's for sentry drones, which we're not using. Again, this will make our drones even faster, so you could do that if you want. Again, this is for sentry drones. That's for webbing drones, so the drone rigs we don't really need, because we have enough drone bonuses from the ship itself. So we can look at maybe armor rigs. We can put in an explosive armor reinforcer just to bring the explosive up to almost the same level as this. And one quite popular one is the auxiliary nano pump. This makes each cycle of your armor repairer repair 15% more, which is significant. So we'll throw one of these on. The power grid's looking a little bit tight, so if you have lower skills, which is probable, we'll throw on a medium ancillary current router, which adds 10% power. Right, so hopefully we have now made a fit which is good for level 2 missions. Capacitor lasts 9 minutes 36. Or it's stable if you fire the lead charge M, which is the middle ground ammunition, which is great. This is the good thing about hybrid turrets. Each of the different types does different amounts of damage and range and cap use. So let's see how high we can get the DPS and have it still be stable. Well, that's not stable. That's not. 343. Plutonium. 429. That's not. Thorium. No. Tungsten. No. Uranium. No. That's fine. So we know that if we fit lead ammunition, the range goes all the way up to 40 kilometers, which is pretty nice. DPS is pretty awful. I mean, the turrets are only doing 114. That's respectable, I suppose. So that is one way of fitting a ship for level 2 missions. We'll save this. And the cost is only 48.4 million because we didn't go crazy and buy anything too expensive. Like, the most expensive thing on this fit, other than the Navy drones, are the guns, and the guns can easily be downgraded. So instead of having 200mm prototype Gauss guns, which are 368,000 each, we'll do the next one down, which I know from experience is a compressed coil gun. Yep, Meta level 3. So these are the next cheaper weapons. And what we'll do, we'll put some Tech 2 drones on, or Tech 1 I should say. Yeah, let's put some Tech 1 drones in. Some of them, and some Tech 1 mediums as well. Okay, this is much cheaper now. 19.5 million-ish because of the Tech 1 drones and the Meta 3 guns. Still, well, with my maximum skills it does 336 DPS, which is more than enough to do any level 2 mission in the game. Maybe not quickly, the harder ones, but it'll do them all. The tank's pretty solid, as we know. These will go up because of this. Most NPCs fire 2 different types, so this will change to 30 and 30. So whichever 2 of these is being shot will increase by 15, over and above what we see here, so that's pretty respectable. 55 plus 15 is 70, so if you're 70 and 70 to the two things you're being shot with, that's fairly good. And we have a nano pump. We'll check the repair rate here. That's pretty good. 40.5 hit points a second is going back up, so this ship should be more than capable of doing any level 2 mission. What I think I will do now, I will go to a trade hub, I will buy this exact fit that we have just made, and I will run a level 2 mission to prove it to you. I'll see you very soon. Okay, we're here in the trade hub ready to build a fit, but on the way I played with the fit and came up with this alternative version. What we have done here, we have taken off the 200mm guns and we've put on piddly little dual 150mm guns. As we see, their range is absolutely appalling, but this has freed up a ton of power grid and CPU, so we managed to put the large capacitor battery back on so it's fully cap stable. And that meant we didn't need the other capacitor recharger here, and we had enough capacitor, power grid and CPU to fit a tracking computer on, which makes the guns even more accurate, because these guns have much better tracking than the 200mm do anyway. So this is more accurate. This is the original fit, as we see, with the other guns. Load them up. So with Tech 1 Hammerhead medium drones and 4 medium guns, it's getting 406 DPS. Turret tracking is only 10.5, but it does go out to 25 kilometers. Whereas this ship, with Tech 1 medium hammerhead drones selected and antimatter ammo, gets 395.5 DPS. I mean, that's only a loss of about 6 or 7 DPS, but the guns are significantly more accurate, but they are at slightly shorter ranges. So this is another decision that you're going to have to make for yourself. This is cap stable and it's more accurate. The other one does slightly more damage. So I think we might actually go for this alternative one here, you know. Okay, so let's click open multi-buy, because we're in a trade hub, it should all be for sale. We'll wait for it to populate and we'll remove anything we already own. Luckily, I had a spare Vexor, so we don't need to buy the hull. Yes, buy all that please, thank you. Okay, now we've bought everything, it's time to fit the ship. We could fit this manually, or we can use this fit ship button here. And this only works if you have a packaged ship in the ship hangar and one set of everything on the fit packaged in your item hangar. Luckily, we do have that. It's saying, do you want me to automatically fit the rigs for you as well? I say yes please, so we'll click fit ship. This is really good for fleet commanders. You can build a fit that you want everyone in the fleet to use and buy multiple copies of it. So if we needed a fleet of 10, we can build 10 of these instantly. It's really cool. And here's our beautiful new ship with all the weapons on it. Right, I shall go and find the level 2 agent and we'll see what this thing can do. Okay, level 2 mission time. Seek and destroy. It's against the Serpentis, so ideally we'll be doing either kinetic or thermal damage. That's fine. We have kinetic and thermal ammunition in our guns, and we have kinetic little drones and thermal big drones, simply because I was lazy and I picked explosive, kinetic and thermal just in case we met any faction. Eliminate the pirates, easy peasy, go in, kill everything. Right, let's go. I didn't buy a script for the tracking computer because we are using these piddly little weapons. I did want it to give both optimal range, fall off and tracking speed bonus to them, because the whole point of adding these, well, one of the points of adding these was A, because they take so little power grid and CPU to fit, it let us put on the big cap battery, which then let us put the tracking computer on, but it's also because they have better tracking, so they're better at killing frigates. So the fall off is only 16 kilometers, optimal range 8.6, but when we simulate, we can actually simulate this being on, and now it goes up to almost 10 kilometers optimal and 18 fall off. Right, we're in the mission system, let's get on with this.
Warp drive active.
I am going to group the weapons into a single group. Each gun's only doing 38.5 DPS, so I don't think we need to spread that out on different targets. We'll just cycle them on the same target. We'll turn the tracking computer on, we'll turn the reactive armor hardener on, we'll turn the armor repairer on, because we know this alternative fit is cap stable with my skills. Do bear in mind during this demonstration I do have maximum skills, so
Warp drive active.
your performance may vary. We'll turn on the tactical overlay to get this little grid so we can see the range everything is at nice and easily. Okay, everything's about 30 to 80. There's no acceleration gate, so this is just these guys here. So let's approach the ones at the back, turn the afterburner on, hold control, target all these guys. We're within our drone control range, so we'll just spit out the kinetic light drones and get them to go and kill the frigates. And because these are light drones, these frigates shouldn't aggress the drones, they should stick fixated on us. Oh, these guys are dying pretty pathetically. Oh, there we go, our turrets have almost blapped one thing. Oh, 3 cycles, really? Oh well. We almost two-shotted something then. Not quite, but almost. And our turrets are missing because the angular velocity is really high. We're flying straight underneath it. Okay, everything else is within target range, it's within drone control range. It's out of turret range. The turrets basically killed one thing in this mission, and well, 1.5. Yeah, and the drones will do everything else. This is one of these level 2 missions, which is about as difficult as a level 1 is. 8 frigates is just pathetic for a level 2 mission. The developers really need to sort out the whole mission system. It's an absolute mess at the minute. Most of them haven't been touched in about 15 years. But ships and other game mechanics and modules have all increased and been changed over the last 15 years. Missions have not, which is why we're just stomping missions. Missions are just like farming, they're so boring now. Okay, lots of dead bad guys. Just align to the gate until our drones are back on board. Right, let's go.
Warp drive active.
Well, that was a terrible demonstration. Well, I'm going to do another level 2 mission, and hopefully we'll get some cruisers or bigger things to kill, because that was a joke. But at least we know that the fit works. How much damage did we take? 2% shield damage. That mission could easily be run in a frigate.
Warp drive active.
Okay, I've been back to the agent. We've got another level 2 mission, and it's a good one. It has some cruisers in it. Hooray! A proper test. Again, we'll turn on everything that needs to be on. You can't turn on your afterburner when you're in warp. Guns are reloaded. Not that I think we're going to fire 160 rounds. I like having the tactical overlay on. You mouse over this, it shows you your gun ranges. Really, really handy. Okay, 3 cruisers and a named frigate, which is the target for this mission. So let's just approach them, lock them all up. Now, again, we're going to put out the little drones first to kill this frigate. If we have a look, we'll see this frigate is... oh, he's actually quite resistant to kinetic. Wow, look at that. Okay, maybe thermal drones would have been better, but they're going to kill him anyway. Okay, we've taken more than 2% shield damage in this mission. Don't panic, this is an armor tank ship. Right, let's bring these drones back in. We'll just go and look at that. We'll put out our medium drones, and hopefully the cruisers won't change their aggro. And we'll put our guns on one and the drones on another. Well, that's pretty good. That's a decent amount of damage. Tank will be fine. It'll hold steady just fine. There we go. One target dead. The guns have almost killed another target. Again, because they're accurate. Terrible loot in that one. Let's have a look in this one. Pretty bad. Boom! Lots of dead bad guys. Lovely. So I think it's safe to say that this fit can handle level 2 missions. The first one we took 2% shield damage because it was 8 frigates. This one is 3 cruisers and a frigate. If we were in a destroyer or a frigate ourselves, we would have been in trouble in this mission, but because we're in a cruiser we just face tanked it. Because we fitted it pretty well, we just annihilated everything. The guns killed the cruiser, the drones killed everything else, easy peasy. Right, I think that'll do it for this video. We've had some fun, we've killed some stuff, we've proved that the fitting works. In the next episode we'll probably move up to level 3 missions and I'll spend even more money on a battle cruiser, so do come back for that, and until then, do take very good care of yourselves. I'll see you later.